Good Tuesday morning to you. Yesterday in our devotional time, we talked about Sabbath, the importance of resting in God's care. Not resting because we've done great work or we've worked really hard, but resting and reminding ourselves that it is God at work and we are in response to God's work. Resting in a way that puts God back in control and takes us out of any sense of control we might have. Today I want to talk about strength. I don't know about you, but I am a lot better when I've had a good night's sleep. I'm a lot better when I've taken a nap. I don't do well when I'm running on empty, but when I've rested, I feel pretty strong, pretty amazing. Now think of that in perspective to Sabbath. When you have reoriented yourself to rest in God's care, how much stronger might you be? Today I want to talk about strength, and the psalm especially that I think speaks into strength is Psalm 28. Now I'm going to read it out of my little Message Bible. You can read it out of whatever translation you have, but I like the way the Message words this. Listen to it. Don't turn a deaf ear when I call you, God. If all I get from you is a deafening silence, I'd be better off in the black hole. I'm letting you know what I need, calling out for help and lifting my arms toward your inner sanctum. Don't shove me into the jail cell with those crooks, with those who are full-time employees of evil. They talk a good line of peace, then moonlight for the devil. Pay them back for what they've done, for how bad they've been. Pay them back for their long hours in the devil's workshop. Then cap it with a huge bonus. Because they have no idea how God works, or what he is up to. God will smash them into smithereens and walk away from their ruins. Blessed be God. He heard me praying. He proved he's on my side. I've thrown my lot in with him. Now I'm jumping for joy and shouting and singing my thanks to him. God is all strength for his people, ample refuge for his chosen leader. Save your people and bless your heritage. Care for them, carry them like a good shepherd. I love the way the Message frames out this psalm. There's that initial ask of God. Don't turn a deaf ear from me when I call to you, God. If all I get from you is a deafening silence, I'd be better off in the black hole. That's my favorite Hebrew word, Sheol. I'd be better off in Sheol, right? Sometimes, isn't that our prayer to God? Isn't that we want to know that God is listening to us? That God is there hearing us? It's not that we don't trust that he is, but sometimes don't we need that assurance? Maybe even a little bit of verification? Sometimes I ask God if he's listening, not really for God's sake, but for my own. Because in asking God, is he listening, I also am thinking, am I speaking? Am I really putting myself in a place where I can hear if he's listening, that I can know if he's listening? Sometimes our prayers can be very raw. They can be where we're at. God doesn't need the finesse. God doesn't need the perfect words. Sometimes our prayers are like the ruggedness of the beginning of the psalm. Verse 2, I'm letting you know what I need, calling out for help and lifting my arms toward your inner sanctum. You know, to lift your arms, to reach out, really is making your own body vulnerable. If you think about it, when you're huddled like this, you're really protecting yourself. But to reach out, you're making your whole core vulnerable. And in prayer is the same way. When we're reaching out to God, whether it's physically or metaphorically, we're making ourselves vulnerable because we have put that much trust in God. Because we know he is our only hope. And then sometimes don't our prayers also get frustrated with the reality that it seems like those around us, those who aren't faithful, those who don't really care what God thinks, that they seem to benefit while we are suffering? That's a hard part of faith, isn't it? It's a hard part of faith to have our eyes opened to know that we put our trust in God, but then to equally be okay with the fact that life isn't equal, that life isn't fair. Just because we're faithful does not mean that we're any more blessed. It only means that we see God's blessings. I mean, at the end of the day, God demands faith. God demands love. But God is also just and gracious and merciful. And quite frankly, those three words don't make a lot of sense together. At the end of the day, some people are blessed regardless if they deserve it or not. And let me add, we don't deserve it. Sin is sin. And no matter how faithful we might be, at the end of the day, we don't deserve most of what God has done for us. Maybe even all. That's where I love the psalmist. The psalmist speaks into that reality of faith. There are people around us that for life seems pretty good, but it's not about them. It's about us and our relationship with God. Are you paying more attention to the people around you, or are you paying attention to the relationship God is speaking into with you? Because that's where strength comes from. Strength comes from verse 6. Blessed be God, he heard me praying. He proved he's on my side. I've thrown my lot in with him. I wonder sometimes when I read the fullness of the psalm, how long it took to get from verse to verse, from stanza to stanza. Was it a moment? Was it a lifetime? Sometimes our faith journey is much the same. From moment to moment, we can feel God's incredible presence, and then it can seem like a lifetime before we actually feel like God's listening to us. And faith encompasses all of that. But at the end of the day, I hope you get to the last part of the psalm. God is all strength for his people, ample refuge for his chosen leader. Save your people and bless your heritage. Care for them. Carry them like a good shepherd. Today, the most important thing we can remember about strength is that it comes from God. Everything that we're able to face today, everything that we have weighing on our heart for tomorrow, everything that we're wondering about in our mind for the next couple days or weeks, put it at God's feet, because that's where the strength comes from. It comes from the one who listens to us and cares for us and serves us in every way. It comes from the one who has faith in us as we have faith in him. Have a great Tuesday.